G'day. There's plenty that goes on behind the scenes leading up to a Formula One race. As an F1 photographer, I see it all, and in this video, I'm going to give you all the good oil. Race day, Sunday. In most instances, this year there are 3 Saturday races. But let's assume for this exercise it's a standard 2 p.m. start. That means I'm there about 8 a.m. It's up to the media centre to set up my laptop, card reader, stream deck and battery charger, then to my locker to grab 2 cameras and my black rapid straps. Then it's downstairs to the paddock. Now remember, drivers can arrive at any time on race day, but seldom do they come in more than 6 hours prior to race start, and the latest I've seen one arrive is probably 2.5 hours prior. But that is a rarity. So just after 8 a.m, I'm in the paddock waiting to shoot them all. Most drivers will come in through the main gate. However, drivers at the far end of a paddock could use the far end swipe gates because it's a shorter walk to their hospitality suite and garage, which means it's very difficult to get all drivers. Most will be wearing team kit on a Sunday, with the exception of Lewis Hamilton, who will be dressed in a fashionable outfit. But by 11 a.m, pretty much all the drivers are in. Some will have speaking engagements, which typically take place either in Paddock Club or in external corporate suites. If they're speaking in a Paddock Club suite above the garages, they won't use the standard Paddock Club swipes, as there's too many people there and fans and drama getting up there. So instead, they take entrances that are reserved for service crew. They'll be accompanied by a minder and possibly a team photographer and videographer. They'll spend about 10 minutes answering some pretty basic questions up in these suites, and then they head back down. And as a driver leaves one of those functions, he's pretty much mobbed by people wanting a selfie or maybe even an autograph, which they're happy to oblige, but they never stop. And which drivers do these sort of appearances? Pretty much all of them at some point, although the lesser drivers do more, say, than Lewis or Fernando. But those world champions are certainly not excluded. They might just do more high-end team stuff, major sponsors, etc. Are they paid? Well, it just depends. Some have it worked into their contract and others get paid an appearance fee. And what would they get? I don't know, I'm guessing anywhere from 5,000 euros to 30,000. Now, I want to tell you about these brand new bucket hats. I'm only ordering what I sell, and you can get onto kimellman.com now, go to the shop and order the grey or this beautiful blue. Now, I must say that if you have a look here, I've left off Tasmania off these samples. So I have remedied that, and also there's a red F1 car instead of one of the planes. But if you want one, you need to get onto the shop now and order before I place the order, so you do not miss out. And if you buy 2, you get 20% off. And they're beautiful quality too, and after a couple of washes, they soften up nicely. 2 to 3 hours before a race start, drivers will typically have a light meal. That meal will feature macronutrients, easily digested carbs, for example, quinoa, grilled chicken, steamed vegetables. Pasta, yet not out of the question, but there will be no heavy, fatty sauces. Their trainer will liaise with the team kitchen to ensure the meal's ready, and while the driver could eat in the hospitality suite, and I've seen that before, there are plenty of sponsors typically on a race day or corporates in that area, so to avoid being interrupted all the time, their trainer often takes their meal to the driver's room where they can eat in peace. 2 hours before race start, all the drivers head to a corralling area for the driver's parade. I'll talk about a standard driver parade setup first. They'll normally meet in an unused garage or a walkway under the pit building. Once they're all accounted for, they make their way to the track and either jump on board 1 or 2 flat-top trucks or head to one of 20 open-top cars for the lap around the track. If they're going into individual cars, there'll be a sticker on the car that they look for. They'll introduce themselves to their chauffeur, and almost certainly the chauffeur will have something for them to sign or at least pose for a selfie, and I've never seen any driver say no. Then they'll take off on the lap. In this instance, though, when they're in individual cars, one or all the drivers might stop at some point on the track so that TV can do short interviews. If the trucks are used, each driver is interviewed on the truck and it's beamed all around the track. This whole procedure gobbles up a good half hour. And last race, where were we? China. They didn't actually do a driver's parade. They instead introduced all the drivers to the crowd on the grid. And each driver had an allocated time they had to be there so that the later drivers didn't have to wait for the earlier drivers. That driver's parade is heavily choreographed too. There is a producer who is in touch with the TV side of things, well anyway, the closed circuit TV at the track, and everything is timed to the second. And who does look after that? Well, most of the time it's this lady, Katie, from Hungary, and more about her coming up in an upcoming video. When they arrive back in their car or their truck, they will often jump off early and jump over the fence to avoid the crowds. It's not uncommon for the TV networks to grab them and have a chat as they head back to their garages. Now, while that parade is going on, the drivers' trainers are busily organising everything for their race. That means ensuring the helmet has the right tear-offs on. For a bright day, they'll have a darker tinting than they would, say, for a night race. And laid out in his driver's room would be his race suit, shoes, fireproof underwear, including socks, balaclava, gloves, cap, towel, helmet, hands device, everything he is going to need for the afternoon. Earlier in the day, the driver will have met with his engineering team to discuss the plans for the day and fine-tune everything. Perhaps at that engineering meeting, they would have agreed on the weight that the driver can take in terms of water, because there is a small pouch that is taken on board by a driver. In most cases, sometimes to save weight, a driver might go without any water in the car, but it's typically in one of these pouches. The driver's trainer arranges for it to be delivered to the garage. They install it in the car and it's ready once the driver jumps in. What is that liquid? Well, it's water with some electrolytes and other stuff. Now, it's not uncommon between the driver's parade and the race start for a driver to have a period of no interruptions where he can, if he wants, just take a nap or at least just have some private time, in which case on the schedule it will say, driver not to be disturbed. About an hour prior to the race start, a dressed driver will make his way to the garage. They do up their race suit, don their helmet and hands device, and then some drivers will go around to each of the crew and fist bump or shake their hands in a sign of unity. Once they're in the car, a mechanic does up their seat belts for the driver, and then the driver puts his own gloves on. While he's getting ready in the car, his crew have already taken out all the stuff they'll need to the grid. At 1:17 p.m, no person can enter pit lane, and at 1:20 p.m, the pit lane is hot, meaning the cars roll out of the garages and head out on track to do 3 or 4 warm-up laps. Now, from 1:20 to 1:30 p.m, only garage crew and FIA officials can cross pit lane to get to or from the grid. Everyone else has to wait where they are until pit lane is reopened. Because the grid is full of people and gear, to continue their warm-up laps, they duck into pit lane, drive at the reduced speed, which can be 60 or 80 kilometres an hour, before exiting and doing the same thing a couple more times. So pit lane closes at 1:30 p.m, and that's when the cars come onto the grid. Now, this gives us an amazing opportunity to shoot shots like this, where we are actually standing in front of a moving car, but we end up moving away when they're about 10 or so metres away from us. This is a manic time at the back of the grid with 20 crews all looking for their driver. And once he's stopped and the engine is off, they raise the car, slide the trolleys underneath and wheel the car through. Hundreds of people to each driver's starting box. On the side of the track there are lit displays that clearly show which driver is in which box. Once the car is in the starting box, some of the drivers have a crew member place a small mark on the pit wall. Why? Well, it makes it easier for the driver when he returns to his box after the formation lap to put it in the exact spot. He'll then jump out, take off his helmet, balaclava and gloves and give that to his trainer, who, by the way, has been out there placing all of the stuff that they'll need for the race neatly on the side near their pit box. He will then put on a cap, maybe a watch and a cooling vest if it's hot, and then go and chat with his race engineer. By this time, it's probably 20 minutes to start time, and they'll go back to their garage for a toilet stop, or just to sit and relax, because obviously they can gather their thoughts there, prep for 90 minutes of grueling piloting, and there's no one around to annoy them. Although in Charles' early days, he would actually sit out on the grid until the race start, but I think he just got tired of so many media and people wanting a piece of him that he now does what the rest of them do. At this point, there are plenty of paddock guests and celebs on track, along with media and teams. It's at some tracks, like Monaco, it's almost impossible to move around because it's so tight. And then over the PA, the track announcer will alert the drivers, 4 minutes to national anthem, and they'll get a minute-by-minute countdown too, alerting them. When I hear that 4-minute announcement, I'm typically out in pit lane waiting for all the drivers to come back to the grid. It's a great opportunity to get very clean shots of drivers in their full race kit, albeit sometimes with TV interviewers nabbing them as they come back. The Master of Ceremonies has already laid out little tags for each driver, noting their position for the national anthem. It starts with the first and second driver in the middle and then works their way out to the 19th and 20th on the outside edges. The national anthem, takes a minute and a bit to play. Sometimes there's a flyover, and then the drivers put on their headphones and head back to the car, although sometimes they do walk back to the garage for a quick wee stop. A couple of minutes before 2 p.m, each car's been started. All of the crew move to the left or right side of the track, and at 2 p.m, 2 green lights are illuminated on the lights above the start line, and all the cars head off at their own speed on the formation lap. And there's no overtaking. So once all the cars have cleared the grid, the people then make their way across the track and off into pit lane, and there's a fair amount of haste involved because some of those teams have quite a long walk back to their garage. At that point, all of the gates that open up onto the paddock on the pit lane side are locked, and the starter awaits the return of the 20 drivers. Once the last car is parked up, there's a marshal at the back of the field who will signal the all clear by waving a green flag, and then he exits into pit lane. You can see here behind the field is the medical car that has 2 people in it, and follow the field for most of the first lap, as that's the time when an incident is most likely to happen. By the time the last car gets to its box, the pole sitter has been there for some time, but then they have to sit there a little bit longer because even the last car needs a few seconds to set up their car ready for launch. The starter then hits the start sequence, which means that those red lights go on one by one until the 5 are on, and then all 5 go off.
And it's lights out and away we go!
And that, my friends, is where this video ends. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. It's a nice feeling, I promise you. You'll find all of my extra content here, along with merchandise. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Oh, struggle.